Hey, welcome back to another Mind the Mic podcast. I'm your host, Shubz, here with an extra special guest in the building, once voted by Source Magazine as hip hop's fourth most powerful person. Shout out to Damizza, my man. Damizza, what's goody, brother? How are you?
Yo, I am great. It still sounds weird when someone says that. You know what I mean? I'm like looking behind me, like, who's he talking about? That guy sounds interesting.
For anybody that doesn't know who you are, brother, or if they haven't seen you around socials, especially lately, can you give us a little info, a little background on yourself?
Well, I started in radio when I was about 12 years old. Worked in the alternative format with acts like No Doubt, Hootie and the Blowfish, Garbage, a lot of those Collective Soul, Dishwalla, that kind of stuff. And then by 17, I was the program director of that radio station, one of the youngest the youngest in that format to ever do it. And then in 1997, I moved to Power 106 in Los Angeles and rose to the senior director of programming there and artist relations, where I met Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre, Puffy, Mace, Notorious B.I.G., Shanti, Ja Rule, Jay-Z, a lot of those kind of acts, and broke them at radio. Literally put Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg together for 2001 for a radio promotion that ended up being their 2001 project. They ended up going in the studio after, and kind of worked with Dr. Dre through the entire 2001 process, helped him set up his tour, and worked with Eminem and broke Eminem across the country. We had Power 106 in Los Angeles. We had Hot 97 in New York through Steve Smith, who was also in the Power 30 with me, and Tracy Clordy. And then we had 32 stations in the middle. But Steve also, rest in peace, had a touring company that was or it wasn't touring yet, it was just the apparatus for the summer jams. And when Dr. Dre wanted to go out on the road, I thought, hey, this would be perfect. Why don't we use this apparatus? And kind of helped him put the tour together that way, and introduced him to Magic Johnson. And, it was just a big lesson in synergy and synergy marketing and getting people together. So it was a lot of fun. And then started producing records. First record I produced was "I Still Believe" for Mariah Carey. Mariah Carey, "Crazy Bone and the Brat." I'm sorry, I just woke up. I had only one cup of
You're
coffee
all
in,
good, brother.
so you're
You're
gonna
all
have
good.
to. And shout out to
You're
the
all
sound
good.
prophets out there, by the way, and Big Paul and all my Samoan homies. But
Yeah.
you know,
Shout out
but
to the
I had
Usos,
to,
man. The Usos.
I had to say what up to the Usos. You know what I mean? But anyways, yeah, so I started producing records, then started working with Nate Dogg, rest in peace, and KG from
Yes.
Naughty by Nature gave me a beat for "Where I Want to Be," and we produced "Where I Want to Be" with Nate Dogg and Corrupt, which was the first single for my Damizza Presents project, which kind of
Yeah.
set the template for what you see of DJ Khaled now, and kind of what took a page out of the Funkmaster Flex book, and all of that kind of stuff, and just
Yeah.
just one thing led to another. Produced a lot of records, had a lot of fun. Bone Thugs and Harmony, Ice Cube, Corn, Terry Reid on the rock side, and just a lot of fun, man. And
A lot of fun.
I took some time off. My grandma got sick, and family is first. And
Yeah.
about 20 years ago, Granny fell down, and I literally retired from the business that day, and
Wow.
just took care of Granny for the next 10, 20 years. And about 6, 7 years ago, or right before COVID, we moved to Louisiana because that's where she was born. And I literally was just me and Grandma in the house for 5 straight years as a full-time caregiver for Granny. And I forgot about the music business. We didn't really have Wi-Fi out there because it was out in the country. I mean, we're talking about a town of 200 people. If you go
Mm.
more than one block in the main town square, you're in Texas, type of thing. So did that, and she passed in January. And when she passed, I came back to California. And I just started noticing how messed up the music business was, and just kind of what the narrative was and what was going on. And I said, well, wait a minute, this isn't right. This isn't the music business I remember. So, I just started talking about it on Instagram, and as of today, I just got some more numbers. We're at like 2.5, 2.6 million impressions for the month, doing about 700,000 a week, and it's amazing. And we're hitting about 1 million unique visitors a month too. So it's just been great. I just get on there. I don't know what I'm gonna say when I hit the button. I literally
Oh,
just
really?
walk up. Somebody will say something to me, or something, and that's why they're kind of irregular. Is because someone will say something, or something will pop up on the Insta, or I'll see a
Yeah.
news article or something, and I'll just hit the red button and I'll just rant. If I mess up, I mess up. If it goes, it goes. And you know. I mean, I've been doing radio for so long and stuff like that it's just like doing an on-air break to me. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
just hit the
It's
button,
probably
say what
why
I
it
need
hits
to
so
say,
good,
and
brother.
just
And
hit
let it go.
send, and that's that.
Yeah, it's probably why it hits so good too, because it's just raw and authentic. There's no script. It's just off
You
the
know,
top and lived
I,
experience too, brother.
yeah, what's crazy is someone said to me yesterday, and they've said this a couple of times, and I've mentioned this a couple of times. People say it kind of feels like a FaceTime, like like we're having a FaceTime conversation when I hit it.
Yeah.
So I,
I feel like that too, brother. When I watch them, it's like you're talking to me. You know what I mean?
oh
Like telling
wow.
me the story. 100%.
Well, then I
Definitely,
guess
brother.
I hit the mark.
Yeah, you did, brother. You hit the mark for sure. You spoke about Granny, and I just want to give you your flowers for a lot of
Thank
people
you.
wouldn't at the height of fame and the kind of I guess influence that you had and the circles that you ran in wouldn't have done that, brother. So big props to you to get to just throw everything to the side and just focus, like you said, family first. A lot of people say that, but not a lot of people are really truly about that, brother. So 20 years, I mean, strong, dedicated to looking after Granny, brother. That's beautiful, man.
Well,
And
I
I
rep her
give props
every
to you,
day.
brother.
This is Granny is Baby Ree. So, I
Yeah,
rep
the
her
baby
every
Ree.
day. And she was my best friend. I mean, we had 50 glorious years of friendship. And, I was abandoned on her doorstep at a year old. She didn't have to take me in. She
Oh,
was,
really?
yeah,
Can you
she
talk
was
about that, bro?
she
Talk
was,
about that growing up in it.
my dad was a biker. My mom was up to no good, and an addict, and this kind of stuff. So literally they left me on a doorstep, rang the doorbell, and took off, kind of thing. So
Oh,
Granny took me in, adopted me, and raised me. And about, I think I was about 7 or 10, right around in there. And I said, Mom, you take care of me now, and I'll take care of you later. And when I first retired, I came home and I said, Mom, I retired from everything. You are now my 100% focus. And she said, I'm not holding you to that. You don't have to do that. And I said, Mom, it's not because of she said, don't feel obligated because you said that. And I'm a big person on word. I'm a big person on, if you say you're going to do something, follow through. And duty, respect, honor, these forgotten words that people use as catchphrases now aren't to me. They mean something. And she said, I'll let you go on this. I can always, find assisted living or something. I said, no, 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 no one's going to take care of my
no.
mama but me. You know what I mean? And,
Mm,
and, I always say this, she changed my diapers. I changed her depends. She gave me a bath
yeah,
when I was a baby. I helped her in the shower. That's just what it was. And,
bro. That's
in the
love,
last
brother.
five
That's love.
years, and the
That's love,
last
brother.
5 years especially was a blast. I mean, she was such a window to history. And she was, if you knew Granny, I mean, all my
Yep.
friends knew Granny. I mean, she'd go to, she worked at the women's club as a secretary, started off there, and then ended up being the president of the women's club, which is a similar story to what I would do, or something like that. And that's where I learned it from. I mean, she would literally sleep in the parking lot when I was 12 years old, working 3 jobs to support my dad, my aunt, and myself. She would literally sleep in the parking lot at the radio station in the car and wait for me, and that kind of loyalty deserves
Wow.
loyalty. You know what I mean? So when she said
100.
she would, when I saw her mortality and the fact that she was getting frail, there was no question in my mind. I literally, it was a Friday afternoon. It was over Thanksgiving and Christmas, that holiday. And it was at the end of the day on Thanksgiving, she was putting away the Thanksgiving stuff and getting out the Christmas stuff, and she fell. And I just said, I literally that Friday drove back to Los Angeles, turned in all my letters of resignation, came home and said, I am yours now. What are we doing? and
Wow, that's
and
word.
whether it's the neighborhood kids or anything, I talk about Bams a lot, my little partner in crime, Bams. We've had him since he was 15 years old. His parents were incarcerated, all this kind of stuff, and Granny just loved Bams. And through Bams we met a lot of the other neighborhood kids, and she would have 5 or 6 gang banging looking young people at Costco, doing a run for the women's club luncheon. And she was just, she could be with Mariah Carey scraping off the rolls in the kitchen, or she could be out with Bams at Costco, or with me and Mac 10, or whoever. I mean, she just related to everybody.
Very big shout out to Grammy. Very, very big shout out. Big love to her.
And she's
And
why
rest of love.
who I am. She taught
Yeah,
me
nah.
everything.
100%, brother. That's amazing, amazing story. Being Polynesian, like our I like a lot of family oriented people, right? But like that's a sort of that's part of our culture too. Is that you
Yes.
don't your parents don't go to a home, you know what I mean, or you look
Mhm.
after them once it's your turn, sort of a thing.
Well,
Even if you don't have the best relationship with them, like me myself. My mother wasn't really around. She was sort, I guess, similar to yours. Mine were teenagers, my parents. So when my mother,
yeah.
when something happens to her, I'll still be there for her, even though we don't really have a relationship, brother. So it's cool that you
Well,
did
the
have a cool relationship.
Polynesian culture, I just shout out Big Paul, rest in peace. I mean, I mean, even the Booyah tribe,
You're the
Giant,
Booyah tribe.
Giant would come and visit us from the Booyah tribe, and hang out with Granny all the time and stuff. And I mean, the Polynesian culture has been so good to me. You know what I mean? And it's something that I respect. I mean, the Samoans and the Polynesian, just great people, and I can relate. You know
So
what
you
I
grew up
mean?
around a lot of them. You grew up with around a few of them when you were growing up.
Not growing up, but when I got to the music business, and
Yeah,
Big Paul was had a promotion at MCA for a long time. The Booyah Tribe, great friends of mine. So I met a lot along the way. You know
yeah,
what I mean? And then I would just learn. And like, for instance, Giant, he's not in the best of health, but
yeah.
made the trip to Santa Barbara because he had the special bond with Granny, and he wasn't gonna miss it. And the just the honor and respect in the Polynesian culture is bar none the most respectful. And I just love it. Even the WWE, when I see The Rock and the Usos, and
Yeah,
all of this kind of stuff, and going back to um, you know um, the Chief and all of that kind of stuff,
yeah, yeah.
just you know
Hi, Chief Mavia.
yeah, just seeing how the culture moves. You know what I mean? It's so admirable. You know what I mean? And
Mm.
I just have so much respect.
Hey, big love to that, my brother. Big love to that. You spoke on being a program director. What does that entail for people that have no idea what that
You
means? What does
call
that
the
mean?
shots, brother. You call the
Yeah,
shots.
let's go,
You know what I
Shakola.
mean? No,
Yeah,
a program director is basically the one that sets forth the programming of the radio station, like how records are played, what the format is. When I was that young, they kind of dictated what I had to do. I had to do alternative because it was a rock town, Santa Barbara. They wouldn't let me do rap. And at the time, they said rap wasn't gonna last. I mean, they said rap was done. Vanilla Ice and MC Hammer is the end of it. And rap is over. And then they said the music is business is over when Napster came out, or Dr.
yeah,
Dre and Dr. Dre is over because he had the Firm album, or Mariah Carey's over because of Glitter, or Eminem's not going to do it because Vanilla Ice ruined it, or whatever. But the program director is usually the person that kind of decides where the radio station is going to go, and decides the staffing and the air personalities, and just creates the welcome mat for the radio station.
How crazy is that to be 17 years old and be the program director of a radio station?
I was in high
That's
school, bro.
insane.
Like, it was
That's
crazy, but
insane,
it
brother.
worked. Yeah, it worked to my benefit though, because being in high school, I knew what all the other kids wanted to hear. So I would go to high school during the day. I'd get up at or get to school about 8 o'clock. When I went, I ended up having to go on home studies, and graduating from home studies because I wasn't the best at school. But
Mm.
I did you would do 8 to 3 at school, then go home, take a nap from like 3:30, because I lived 2 blocks from the high school. So I
Yep.
would go and take a couple-hour nap, be on the air by 7, work to from 7 to midnight on the air, do some commercial production work till 1 or 2, and then I'd be up. So I'd go home and I'd play on my new little keyboard or my DJ setup or whatever it was, and I'd also DJ the high school dances and all of that kind of stuff. So I was really kind of just embedded in the music culture, which made me a better program director because I knew what to play because I was always around the influencers of that time.
So, who were your musical influences as a child? Like growing up Santa Barbara as a child, who were you listening to then?
Well, it started off where my aunt gave me a Steve Miller band and a Hall and Oates band cassette, and I started off there. And then with the advent of the MTV, then it started off with Dire Straits and turned into Michael Jackson
Mm.
and things like that. Excuse me. Um, but then, one day I was at a friend's house and they popped a tape in and they said, "Oh my God, they're cussing on a record." And it was Easy E, Boys in the Hood, and or the first one was Gangsta Gangsta by NWA that I heard. And when I heard that, I was like, "Oh my God, real life and music." And it was like eating McDonald's the first time, I mean, it was like, "Oh my God, like I love this."
Yeah.
And then it just started that journey, researching Dr. Dre and finding out about the Compton culture and stuff like that, and then seeing the word Compton on young DJ Quick's project, and then saying, well, if he's from Compton, then they're from Compton, then this has got to be good. You know what I mean? And just kind of taking it from there. So it was all rap for me. And then when MC Hammer and Belle Biv DeVoe and a lot of the R&B stuff, Teddy Riley and Eric Sermon and EPMD and just all of that stuff, Curtis Blow, Father MC, Ice T. And when I started at Power 106, I started off as a board op. I started off as a part-time guy. So I came
Mm.
in while I'm a program director of these stations in Santa Barbara. I just wanted to get my foot in the door in hip hop. And the only job they had literally was kind of like the mailroom. I don't know if you saw the movie La Bamba, where the Rick Dees is sitting on one side and there's a
Oh
guy
yes,
on
the
the other
Baba.
side
Yep.
and he's just pressing the buttons.
Yep.
That was me. I was the guy on the other side just pressing the buttons, but the guy on the other side was Curtis Blow. So I would learn from Curtis Blow about hip
Wow.
hop, and then when he left, Ice T came in. So then Ice T started teaching me about West Coast hip hop. So I had the two best mentors when it came to rap that you could possibly get, Ice T and Curtis Blow. And then on the radio side, I had Steve Smith, rest in peace, and Michael Newman, who literally invented the radio wheel. So since 12. So, it's like you had these great mentors. And that's really one of the main reasons and motivations of having my Instagram is I really feel that the mentorship is gone. And I want to share these stories and share this knowledge that I've gained from all of these great people. I mean, Mariah Carey taught me how to write a song. Nate Dogg taught me how to write a song. Uh, Dr. Dre told me how to produce a song. DJ Quick told me how to produce a song. Listening to Quincy Jones and adapting what I could piece together from his interviews and his journey, and talking to a QD3, his son, and picking up some of the game from him, and one of my favorite records, To Live and Die in LA, that he produced by Tupac, and
Track.
just learning all of these things and sharing it. I look at it kind of like a Robin Hood thing. I go up here and rob from all of the rich people and knowledge, and then come down and share it with everybody who didn't get it yet. You know what I mean? And I think that's just the whole point of what I'm doing.
Yeah, I love that. Well, hey, thank you for giving a little bit of that Robin Hood love here, brother. I appreciate
Yes.
that. I'm grateful, brother. Here on Mind the Mic podcast, I'm grateful when you talk about Nate Dogg, brother. What was Nate Dogg like as a
Oh
guy? As
man.
a
Nate is one of, I was talking to Nige yesterday, who's Nate's son. And, there's this song that just popped up. Nate's music will never die. Rest in peace,
oh,
Nate.
100.
And, I produced Music in Me for the title track for his album. I produced Where I Want to Be. We did a lot, Wake Up. I mean, we did a lot of work together. And he was just a really, really good friend. And I was talking to Nige yesterday and Junior because There's a song in the UK right now by a act named Flex. He's a 17-year-old kid who made a techno remix or a dance remix to Gangster Walk, which is a song that Nate and I, were just messing around one time and literally made. I think Ronnie King played the keyboards on it, and we were just having fun making music one day, and we didn't end up using it. It just kind of sat on the shelf, but I used it on a baby remix tape. Well, someone heard that, and back in the day, Nate's management gave them the acapella because they wanted to do a remix. And there was a group called Sunburn or something that remade it and oversees that song. And then recently, a couple days ago, the 17-year-old kid makes a remix of Gangster Walk, gets a hold of the acapella, and it gets a million spins on SoundCloud. So there was this
Wow.
like, bidding war over this Nate Dogg song. And, I'm talking to Nige and Junior about it. And I was just thinking, man, here I am talking to Nate's kids about Nate's music that's still alive today. And, Nate was a friend. He was a great friend first, and then the music came, but man, we would just have a blast. Nate taught me so much. And, when I wanted to get out there and rap, he was the first person to hop on a feature. I mean, we did What Would You Do With Me? You know what I mean? Like, when we did the Universal Amphitheater, it was one of the biggest nights of my life. I've got Mariah Carey, the number one pop star in the world, and I've got Nate Dogg, the number one R&B, you know, crooner that there is, and we're doing this song, What Would You Do, that's on the radio and people are liking. And I mean, he was just always there to support me, man. And we would have the most sarcastic relationship, man. Nate and I remember when we were doing What Would You Do, I've told this story on the Instagram, and it always gets a laugh. Is Nate Dogg, when we were doing What Would You Do, there was this bridge part, and I said, hey, in this part in the background, you should do this ooh, and he'd look over at me and go, do I look like New Edition to you, mother sucker? You know what I mean? Like, and I was like, no, no, I mean, okay, I'll be quiet. And he's like, rewind the tape. And I rewind the tape, and he's kind of humming along. And then he goes, he goes, take me that part again. I go, oh, you're New Edition now, huh? And no, screw you, Damizza. Just play the song. And then I go, oh, well, did you like it? And he's like, mix a copy and send it to me, and fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, we'd go out, we'd hang out, we'd go to clubs. Nate was, he had a studio in his house, and, come over, bring some weed and some beats. You know what I mean? And we just go over there and make music, man. And I'd see his kids then, you 1, 2, 3 years old and stuff. And now working with Nige, Nige and I are talking about making an album together. And I was trying to kick Junior in the britches and try to get him to, get back in the studio. But, he's a parent now. And, I mean, Nate's grandkids running around. I mean, it's a blessing, man. It's a blessing.
100%. Speaking of grandkids, what about yourself? Do you have any children yourself, brother, at all? Or?
No, I never
No,
had time for kids. You know what I mean? Like,
no.
I've been in relationships, and the women in my life have been wonderful, but I just haven't had the time. With my dad being on the road and a biker and young when he had me, he got remarried, years down the line, and hit my two little brothers that came from his second marriage, Jason and Nick. I ended up practically raising myself with grandma. And then, when Bams came along, I ended up, helping him out and spending a lot of time with him and, my little brother's friends and all that kind of stuff. Being a record producer, they were all gassed in that. So I ended up being a mentor with them. I didn't really have much time with all the music and granny and stuff like that. I never really had the time to get married or get into a full blown relationship because, I just always had so much going on with the music business and with family.
Yeah, no, I love it. We call it in Maori, which is so we're part of the Polynesian Triangle. We're native to New Zealand. We're Maoris, like cousins, Samoans, Tongans. They're our cousins. So we call that work. We call it mahi. So
Ah.
mahi, too much mahi, brother. You are doing too much mahi. And he goes, but
That's
the,
dope.
the the name Damizza, where does that derive from, brother? What's the go there?
We were in the studio one night. We were doing I Still Believe, the remix of Crazy Bone and the Brat that I was talking
Yeah.
about with Mariah. And they said, you need a producer name. And I was like, well, And I was doing radio at the time, so we thought that if I just came out as Damian Young is producing records, there might be some hate at radio or whatever, whatever. So we thought we'd do the old Trojan horse, where we would, say, it's produced by this name, and then kind of create a new brand for just production. And Mariah looked over and said, Dame, Dame. Damien, Dame, and then someone stuck their head in the door of the studio and said, "Hey, RZA's next door," and she said, "Dame RZA, Damizza, Damizza, ZZA, ZA, no ZZA, Damizza. Let's call you Damizza." And they just basically took the ZA from RZA, and just added a Z to it and threw it on the back of DAMI, and there it was.
There it is, eh?
You know what I
Wow.
mean? So smart lady, man, smart lady.
Yeah, well, I guess like speaking of her, tell us what were your experiences like with her, brother? Is there
Oh, it
any
was great, man.
you
I
can?
started off as just a producer, just an advisor kind of, which turned into becoming an advisor with some of her projects and stuff like that. And then around the time of Glitter, when all of that stuff was going on, she's like, "Look, you just need to take this project over. I'm gonna pay you, come in and just finish this project for me. I'm just overwhelmed." So I started really working for her closely during Glitter, and I did literally half of Glitter, cleaning it up. I mean, the producers, definitely deserve their props and their credit and everything, but I just came in and just did additional production and mixing, and putting like Busta Rhymes on Last Night a DJ Saved My Life, or getting Ja Rule for If We, or just doing little things here and there. And then that turned into doing the premiere for the movie in Westwood, like the actual theatrical release. And then it turned into being on the road with her and helping her at the Super Bowl, introducing her to Al Gore, and right before the Super Bowl performance, and making her laugh, and keeping her in that mind state. And then when it came to Rainbow, we did the record with Snoop Dogg. When she did Ain't No Fun remix, I put her with Suge Knight to clear the sample. When she did Heartbreaker, the original version, I introduced her to Jay-Z to, get that. And I even introduced her to Eminem, which was a huge mistake. But, but, I mean, it just, and then when we belong together, when we were at this point where, L.A. Reid is now taking over Def Jam, she has this new thing with Def Jam, and it was time for the big comeback. And, I was just like, go to Atlanta and bring me back an Usher record, and kind of A&Ring that. I brought her Rodney Jerkins, and Mahogany, and Twista, and Scott Storch. And there was issues with Jay-Z and Fat Joe at the time for the remix of Shake It Off. I went in and fixed that and got them to work together, and all of this kind of stuff. So it was a quite a journey. It was quite a journey, man, and it was just fun working for her. A great lady.
Yeah, 100%. Did you have something to do with her and Jay Z linking up for that track too, or like was
Oh
that
yeah,
you?
yeah. I was working with Jay Z. Jay Brown actually, who is now the head of Rock Nation, Jay Z's business partner, worked for Quincy Jones at the time, and ironically, his wife actually worked for Magic Johnson. So when Dr. Dre wanted to go out on tour and no venues would allow gangster rap in their venues, I said, well, why don't we hire or bring in Magic Johnson as the promoter? Well, I would call Jay Brown. Jay Brown would call Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson would then call Dr. Dre, and that's just synergy marketing. But that's how it kind of started with the relationship. Is Jay Brown brought me this Brooklyn rapper Jay Z, and after Ain't No, he had kind of a dry spell. He dropped like Who You With, City Is Mine, Sunshine. All of these records didn't really work out, and Def Jam was considering whether to drop them or not. And
That's
then came
crazy.
Can I Get Her?
Wow.
Brett Ratner, who was managing DJ Irv at the time, which was Irv Gotti,
Yep.
produced this song Can I Get It? And Ja Rule and Jay were on it. And I played it. It became a big record, and that set up Hard Knock Life, and then we played Hard Knock Life, and then Jay Brown took over management when Dame Dash left, and then we started working really closely together with Jay-Z and branding. So when I saw the opportunity for Jay-Z and Mariah to do a record, Mariah was trying to find something to fill this third verse on Heartbreaker, and what rappers could she do and get away with, because they were giving her a lot of slack at the time for having the relationship with rappers and all of that kind of stuff. And they labeled her Mariah Carey in the hard partying rap posse that would smoke weed in her building, or just all
Mm,
this kind of stuff, and just little things that would come out in the press that just wasn't very flattering. So it was kind of tough to get her and Jay-Z in the room together the first time. Matter of fact, how I did it was at first she said, rappers, they give me trouble for it. I can't really, he's too street. We need someone a little more. And I'm like, this is the lady who put Old Dirty Bastard on Fantasy. Yeah, right. And she said, yeah, look where that got me, and all of this kind of stuff. So
what
I
a what a what
literally,
a legendary track that is too, brother.
you know what I
Fantasy.
mean? And
Yeah.
so I called her and I said, meet me at Mr. Chow's at 7:30 in New York. I'll be in town. Let's have dinner. And she's like, oh, great. And then I called Jay-Z and I said, well, meet me at 7 o'clock at Mr. Chow's, for dinner. I'll be in town. He said, oh, great. So Jay-Z comes in and he's like, well, why do you keep looking at the door? What's going on? He's like, what are you up to? And I'm like, oh, well, I'm waiting for a friend. He's like, dude, what are you up to? And next thing Mariah walks in, he's like, oh, that's what you're up to. And DJ Clue was there, who produced the track,
DJ Clue.
and Kevin Lyles and a lot of the people at Def Jam were there. And I'm like, wouldn't it be great for Jay-Z to get into markets like the Philippines and New Zealand and all of these places that traditional rap doesn't necessarily go, China and all of these kind of places. Jay-Z's brand will be in these markets that don't normally support rap. And we have to remember, this is 99, 2000, right around in that era, where rap still wasn't, the big thing yet. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't
Mm.
really have Eminem and all of those kind of things to, like, what, 2000, 2001, 99, like right around,
Yeah, around
all of
around
that. But
similar
it didn't
time.
really
Yeah.
sink in and become like a huge worldwide format that we know today. The biggest format in music right now is late 90s, 2000s hip hop. It's the most valuable. I mean, that Irv Gotti just sold his catalog for what, 250 million. Dr. Dre sold his for an undisclosed, but rumored at between 200 and 400 million. I mean, there's nothing bigger than that era right now, and to ride that wave and be a part of it was just such an honor. And that was just one instance of getting them to do it. And after that dinner, we actually, I didn't think it was going to happen, because they both just kind of seemed a little lukewarm. But we went out to a club afterwards, and we were with Nas and I think Jadakiss or somebody else like that was there. We all were partying with Cristal bottles. I don't even drink Cristal, but we had I
What do
had to
you
do
drink,
it.
brother? What
I
do you
had to
drink?
do it.
What do you drink? What do you drink, by the way?
I don't really drink anymore, because I had a bad bout with it, a few years ago, before I read, or excuse me, and gosh, it was mid 2000s where, it got the best of me and I'd turned into a real asshole. So
Oh, okay.
I just quit drinking, I mean? And then when grandma got sick, I just, I couldn't drink anymore, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I had to keep an eye on her. And what if she fell down and I had to, call the ambulance or something like that? I just couldn't afford, and in America, the pill craze and the addiction stuff and the opioid epidemic. I'm an addictive personality, and I have migraine headaches since I was 16 years old. And when I was 16 years old, they gave me my first prescription for Vicodin. So by the
Mm.
time I was in my late 20s, it was a fentanyl, prescription, because your tolerance grows. So I got caught up in that as well. But luckily today, I take it one day at a time, and I'm sober. So I'm just happy of that. But I don't really drink. I'll have a beer every once in a while, but it's a bad road for me.
Yeah, no, fair enough. You know your limits, brother. I guess the better question is, what did you eat at Mr. Chow's?
Oh, yes. The little pink chicken on the stick thing is my favorite.
Oh. That's
And
your
their Kung
favorite.
Pao chicken is just amazing. And Mr. Chow's has always been so good to me. I remember this one time, Jonathan, shout out to Jonathan at Mr. Chow's, the maitre
Shout
d.
out.
It's funny because I would go there all the time with Ashanti, Mariah, Ja Rule, and Irv, and we'd spend ridiculous amounts of money there. So I became a regular there. And I would always tip the maitre d because he always took care of us. And it'd been 5 or 10 years since I had been there, and I walked. His memory is ridiculous. So it happened to be the night of the Oscars. I didn't even realize it, but it was just absolutely packed, and I was just like, all of these people, we're not going to get a table. I was with my friend Aaron, who is Mike Post's son, who did the Hill Street Blues and the A-Team theme and Magnum PI and all that. He's like one of the biggest publishers in the world and great guy. Shout out Mike Post. And he's like, we're not going to get in. And I'm like, well, let's see if Jonathan's here and see, what's going on. So I stuck my head in, and Jonathan's like, oh, Damizza, come here. And I look next to me, and it's Michael freaking Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones and Kurt Douglas. And they're standing there, and one of them has an Oscar in their hand, or one of their people do, or one of the people with them. And I was just like, damn, we're never going to get in here, huh, John? He's like, no, no, no. He's just the two of you. And I said, yeah. And he goes, and he whistles and he calls the busboy over and he says, put a table right here, and brought out a table and set it down in the middle of the aisleway of Mr. Chow's. And Catherine Zeta-Jones and Michael Douglas are looking at everybody like, who is this guy? How did he get his own table brought up and all this? So shout out to Mr. Chow's. God bless you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, big love to Mr. Charles. Big love, baby. Hey, speaking of big love,
Yeah,
big boy neighbor.
yeah.
What's the relationship there, brother? Big boy,
Oh, I
you
talked
and
to
big
him
boy.
yesterday. I mean, Big Boy is one of the most successful brands that I've ever been a part of. He started off at Power 106 he was actually at a barbecue with the Baker Boys, and Rick Cummings heard him laughing, who was an executive at Power, and said, that guy needs to be on the radio, and I think they started him, one time on nights or overnights or something, and he just did great. So, fast forward a few years, he became the morning jock, Power 106. We were talking about this the other day. Is Power really was a mixture of Big Boy and my personality. It was his personality as the visual and on the air, and it
Yes.
was my personality as far as music and everything in between. If I was a big Dr. Dre and Snoop fan, so I was like, yeah, we got to get them together for a show. And I'd go to Big and be like, hey, Big, this is what I want to do. And he'd be like, yeah, let's do it. And Fuzzy, shout out to Fuzzy and his team. They really empowered me to really go nuts and have fun. So Big Boy has always been a huge part of my life. And we talked in and out while I was not in radio, but he was always there for me, man. And when I touched back down in LA, one of the first visits that I did was I stopped by iHeart and saw Big Boy, and he showed me what's going on and how he does his show, and kind of just briefed me and updated me on how radio works these days. And and yeah, I even he made a joke at the end of this video when I went to go visit, and the band is back together. So I made a joke with him yesterday. I was like, well, if the band's back together, what are we doing? Why don't I work for Big Boy? You know what I mean? Like, what's going on? But
Yeah.
another partner of his is that was on the air with him years ago was Liz,
Liz
and Liz
Hernandez.
Hernandez is now
Yeah.
at the Wave here in Los Angeles. And I stopped by there last Monday to talk about the Drake and Kendrick thing, and then she had me back on Friday. So even Big Boy's brand is so huge that a lot of the DJs and a lot of the music executives and a lot of the things in Los Angeles have come from either Big Boy's tree, Power 106's tree, or my tree. So
Yeah.
it's one degree of separation from Big Boy, really, of this whole industry. And Big Boy is an icon, and I'm just so blessed to have been part of not only building his brand, but to be the guy's friend. I mean, he's a generous guy, and he's always been really good to me.
Yeah, big shout out, big love to Big Boy. I'm a big fan of Big Boy. Just,
Yeah.
just the start. Like I've always enjoyed listening to him talk, and that for years since I was a kid, really, brother. So yeah, yeah. Shout out,
You
Big
got to
Boy,
make a
man.
clip
Yeah. Oh, I don't know what happened. Did we lose the brother? Miz, can you hear me, brother? Or did we lose the audio? Can you hear me? Oh, oh, your phone? Sorry, I don't know if it's me or if it's the brother. Oh, oh. Fam, can you hear me? Because I can't hear the bro. Man, I was enjoying that conversation too. Oh, just drop out and and click on that link again and rejoin, and it should reboot, brother. Just jump out and join that link again, and it should reboot. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's probably I don't know. Yeah, just jump out and join that hit that link again, brother, and we'll finish this off if you can, brother. I can't hear you, brother. Just that can you exit out of this and then come back in via that link that I sent you in the DM? Just yeah, leave and come back. Just leave like swipe out of this and come back. Can you? And go back to the link that I sent you in the DM, brother, and I'll just wait for you and we'll finish it. All right. Can you hear me, fam? Like anybody, can you hear me? I just want to make sure it's not me. Yeah, he probably did get a call, huh? Yeah, can hear you. Okay, sweet. I'm just gonna join and make sure I can hear myself too. So all right, here we go. See if the brothers usually, yeah, sometimes maybe because he got a call.
Sorry about that. I
Oh,
guess
there.
my phone rings and
Yeah. No,
I
no,
had
no,
it
no, no,
off.
no stress, brother. No stress, my brother.
We
Think,
can edit.
hey, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Or we just let it run, let it run, and
Whatever.
people can see it in real. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
see
shout
what
out.
really happens.
Yeah, but you were saying shout yeah, clip that up. Yeah, but shout out Big Boy, man. Straight up,
Yeah,
big
shout
love
out
for
to
Big
Big
Boy,
Boy.
man. Shout out to Big Boy. You said you helped bring Snoop Dogg and Dre together for 2001. You were saying how's that come about? You just sitting
Oh
in
man,
together?
we had a show at the Palace in Hollywood,
Yeah.
and we had the Dog Pound performing, and Snoop came with the Dog Pound, and I just ran into him. And we also, it was around the time that Biggie was doing a promo run in LA, and I had asked Puffy if he would stop by, and it was kind of a, I didn't realize until years later how stupid a question that was because of how hot it was in LA for rappers, and especially Biggie at the time. It was two
Mm.
weeks later that he passed, basically. So
Oh
we had this
damn.
show in at the Palace in Hollywood, and Biggie and Puffy and Mace showed up. So Puffy was on stage with Mace performing "Can't Nobody Hold Me Down." And Biggie walked out on stage, and we were like, "Oh my God, we got to find a Biggie record." We didn't know he was coming, so they found "Crush on You" that he wrote for Little Kim and Little C's, and he started performing it, and Snoop Dogg came out on stage. And it just kind of was one of those things where it's like there's no east west beef. Snoop Dogg was there. So after the show I said to Snoop, like, yo, why don't you come do a weekend show on Power 106? And he's like, be a DJ? And I was like, yeah, like be a DJ on Saturdays. And he's like, yeah, cool. So he came and was a DJ, and around the same time I met Dr. Dre. So in normal Damizza fashion, kind of like the Jay-Z thing, I said, hey, Snoop, Dr. Dre wants to work with you again. And then I went to Dr. Dre and said, hey, Snoop wants to work with you again. Obviously, neither of them said that. I just, as a fan, just wanted to see it happen. So, the next thing they were like, well, how do we do it? And I was like, well, let's do a show. And, that problem with doing, um, uh, gang related concerts, in Los Angeles, the police weren't going for it. So the Baker Boys had a great idea and said, why don't we just do it in Hawaii, and fly everybody there? So we ended up doing it in Hawaii. But, we had this powerhouse in Los Angeles first, which sealed the deal. And Snoop was performing, so I invited Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre shows up. We're sitting there on the loading dock or whatever, and I said, "Yeah, I got a dressing room for you." Well, little did he know, I walked Snoop in first to his dressing room, and then I switched the nameplates on the door. So it said Dr. Dre on Snoop Dogg's dressing room. So I literally opened the door and kind of pushed him in there, and that was the first time he saw Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg in the same room, or you saw Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg in the same room, in the 10 years since Death Row. And then after
Yeah.
that happened, we were up on the stage, and DJ Jam, shout out to DJ Jam, was the DJ, and Snoop was out there performing. And I look over at Jam and I said, play deep cover. And he goes, look, bro, they said they talked. But they talked, but we're not there yet, Dame. You're reaching here. And I looked over at Dre and I was like, look, dog, here's the microphone. Pick one. I had two mics in my hand, and he goes, play the record. And he grabbed the two mics out of my hand, walked out on stage and did, deep cover. And the next thing you know, he walks up right after the show and he goes, is that what you wanted, Damizza? And I was like, well, an album would be great. And he's like, whatever. And, he just
Yeah.
took off. And the next thing you know, the next day, I called him and said, wasn't that fun? And he's like, yeah. He goes, well, what about this, doing a show together? And he's like, well, this, that, and the other. And I was like, man, come on, let's do this. And he's like, okay, you put it together and I'll do it. You know what I mean? And the next thing you know, we were in rehearsals for the Hawaii show, and they got to talking, and the next thing you know, they're like, let's go in the studio. And Master P had heard Snoop Dogg on the radio and had heard some of the songs he was playing. It's like, does he have a deal? What is he doing? And
Oh
you
yeah,
know what I
that's
mean?
right.
So, he heard him
No
on the
limit.
radio at Power, and he signed him. You know what I mean? So, it was Master P, I think, was the one that had the idea, or Snoop had the idea of, hey, let's get him to produce on this No Limit, album. So, they went in to go do that, and then the next thing you know, they rolled into 2001. So, I was literally there the night that Scott Storch came in and played Still DRE, and Dre looked over at me and said, "Is this the one that we send to Jay-Z? Is this the one?" And the Powerhouse shows and all of that, introducing Jay-Z to Dr. Dre, or Jay-Z to Eminem, or getting Jay-Z the Watcher Part 2, or getting Snoop Dogg to perform at Summer Jam with Jay-Z. It was really easy to network people in those years, because everybody was together one time a year, and that was Powerhouse, and everybody left their bullshit outside. So I could easily say, hey, Jay-Z, this is Eminem, and then next thing you know, you hear they're doing Renegade. You know what I mean? Like, it was just amazing. So it was kind of the same thing. I just put them in a room together, and organically they just started making records. And Dr. Dre called me one time. He said, come to the house after they started recording. And I said, come to the house. What do you think? I'm a stalker? I don't know where you live. And he was like, come to this place, da 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 da. And he gave me the address. I showed up, and there's this little white kid from Detroit in there going, Slim Shady, you a basshead, and all this kind of stuff. So, it was really neat to see, you know what I mean? Like, Eminem, doing Hi My Name Is, and being in the room for it. And then, he said, how do I break the white boy? And I'm like, well, you tell me the story of NWA from beginning to end, and I'll break the white boy for you. You know what I mean? Like, so it was always fun. It was about hip hop. It wasn't this corporate thing that's going on now. It wasn't
Yeah,
this, everybody just trying to get that infinity loop of money from the DSPs. It was about hip hop. It was about the show. My boss told me, if you put that white boy on stage, you're gonna get fired. The first time I put Eminem on stage, that night after recording Hi My Name Is, I had him perform at the Baker Boys 10-year anniversary, with Gangstar Guru, rest in peace. And they're like, the 10 years anniversary, you're gonna put a white boy on stage? Haven't you ever heard of Vanilla Ice? You'll get fired if you do that. So the next morning, I literally was packing up a box thinking I was going to get fired that next morning. And my boss stuck her head in the door and said, you're lucky that white boy killed it. Where's the record? Instead of you're fired. You know what I mean?
yeah,
We
yeah.
were
What it's gonna
taking,
be, what you thought it was
yeah,
gonna be.
we were taking
Yeah.
chances for hip hop. And
But you
and
got to, right?
and
If
that's
you're gonna
full
break shit,
circle.
right?
That's where we are today. We're
Yeah, but
taking chances for hip hop.
but you have to, right? Like in anything, if you want to if you want to create something or trailblaze in any way, you gotta take risks, baby. You gotta risk it to get the biscuit, and you might not
You
always
have
get the
to do
biscuit.
it. You
Hundred
have to do
percent.
it.
Bro, props to you though, brother. Props to you for because without a lot of your meddling, some would say, a lot of that stuff wouldn't, all that stuff wouldn't happen. So, hey,
Well, I
when
mean,
Source
just think
says,
about it. What if think about that. What if we did not put Dr. Dre and Snoop back together? Would you have Eminem? Would you have had The Chronic? Would you have
"What's
had Exhibit? Would you have had 50 Cent? Would you have had Eminem? How would that have,
Yeah.
if I just never went to Power 106, what would have happened to the careers of Dr. Dre, Jay-Z, Mariah Carey, Snoop Dogg? I mean, what would have happened?
Well, yeah, exactly. And would Jay Z be Jay Z now? Like, if they were going to drop him off the label and you didn't connect him and Mariah, like, what does things look like there too? Mhm.
I
Hey, who
don't
knows,
know,
brother?
but I'm glad that that the universe picked me. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's pretty
And
dope,
that's the way
brother.
I
Yeah.
look at it, man. I'm no more special than anybody else. I'm just the instrument that the universe chose to put in the middle of this. And I am what you get when you let a rabid hip hop fan in, around some power. You know what I mean?
Mm. But there must have
I
been some
just
work, brother. Not only some middling and you had to, but that's a lot of work, brother. You did a lot of work, a lot of mahi, as I said, a lot of mahi, brother. There
yeah,
to make all
mahi.
that happen. Yeah, mahi. That's it, brother. A
Yeah.
lot of to make that all happen. That's a lot of mahi, brother. That's you gotta put all these different things together. I've tried, I've been a little boss of my own and just a small scale, thing. I
No
couldn't
one is on
imagine
a
dealing
small
with
scale,
egos.
brother.
No,
No
but I
one's
mean,
on a small scale. Look
I
at where
just
you.
talking. Yeah, I'm just talking in comparison. Like in life, I've done things like that. But like, imagine dealing with the egos and everything of
Oh,
all
yeah.
these different artists and the people who, quote unquote, I guess think they own them or do own their, you know what I mean, that kind of stuff. That's
Well,
crazy, brother.
I found that, a little self-deprecating humor and not taking yourself too seriously and not having an ego and being selfless. Ronald Reagan said something once that stuck with me, and I'm not, going to date how old I am. Okay, I'm 50 this year. But he said anything is possible as long as you don't care who gets the credit.
Hmm.
And I never realized, it took people telling me you did this or you did that. I never realized that I put Dre and Snoop back together. I never realized the impact that we had, on the music business for the time. I mean, I was just having fun,
You were
putting
just doing
friends
it.
together and seeing where it went. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't, to me it was just, hey, I want to hear this song. It was funny when we did the Hawaii show. Once Dre and Snoop were on stage and Deep Cover or Nothing But a G Thing or whatever the first song was came on, I took off my pass and I ran to the front row and just was partying in the front row. And Dr. Dre was on stage. He's doing his verse and he looks down and he sees me and he's like, "What?" And I'm just like sitting there just doing this, and he thinks I'm trying to get his
You're
attention.
just being a
So he's
fan.
yeah, so he almost fell off the stage. He almost tripped over the monitor, and I was like, "No, no, no, it's okay." And I just, backed up. And then after the show, he walks up to me and goes, "Yo, what was that? Was the sound screwed up? What, the lights? What happened?" And I was like, "Bro, do you think I did this for the fucking ratings? I did it for the show. Like I
Hmm.
just wanted. I went to the front row and lost my mind. I just wanted to see it." I mean, like, sorry about that. And he's like, "Oh, I thought you were trying to get my attention." And I was like, "No, no, I was just trying to party."
Yeah, I love that, man. Hey, you spoke on Eminem quite a bit, and we haven't really touched on him.
Mhm.
What's M like? Can you
He
get
is
a
the most regular human being on the planet. I don't even think that he thinks he's Eminem. You know what I mean? Like, I think he's just a regular guy that has an extraordinary job. That's the best way to relate it. He's so regular. He's a soft-spoken guy, but once you get him started, he's funny as hell. He's always been, a creative guy. I remember, when he did the Slim Shady LP or the one with Stan and all of that on it. He called me to the studio and he's like, "I don't got the single." He's really hard
Marshall
on himself,
Mathers?
but he's a great producer though. I mean, he
Oh yeah,
produced,
yeah.
Stan and all of those, right, and wrote them. So I mean, he's a great writer and great producer, and one of the most prolific of our time. I mean, he's probably the greatest rapper ever to live. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, well, I would.
and
I
and
don't.
I love
I
to
don't think
hear
you're
what he
gonna be hard to
writes.
argue. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love to hear what he writes. Like you can always tell, like, probably moved to a new house on a new hill. And how would you feel if, wanted you killed?
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like when Dr. Dre's rapping that, you can hear Eminem in it. You know what I mean? That's the
Yeah.
Watcher, but Eminem wrote it. Or everybody want to talk like they got something to say and
Bro, that
rapping
whole
among
thing.
the
Yeah.
lips. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
back when Q was rolling with Lorenzo when the
Lorenzo
Benz.
when the
You know what I
Benzo, I
mean?
was banging with again. Yeah,
That's
100%.
Eminem,
Got the pens and
and
pencils.
even Bitch Please when he wrote Snoop's verse for that. You know what I mean? It's I mean, Nate Dogg, when the boats collapse and then when all
Mhm.
stood up, you know what I mean? That's all M. You know, a very smart
What a
guy,
mind,
man.
eh? What a
Yeah,
mind,
and
brother.
Paul Rosenberg too, his manager, is
Hey,
extremely smart.
yeah, and easy to deal with guy. Like for yourself, was it pretty?
I'm sorry.
Or was it easy to deal with, Paul? For you, like
Well, yeah, but
the
at that level, once it blew up, it became a little more difficult because,
yeah.
but he did like 5 free shows for me. He did a lot of great things for us, man. Like he really supported us, and Paul was always there.
Yeah, 100%. Can we speak on the Kendrick and Drake little thing before we do get
Yeah,
out of
yeah,
here?
yeah.
Yeah, brother, tell me you what it can lay it out. Give me your thoughts on that whole saga. Break it down for
Well,
the people, brother.
people are debating who won,
Hmm?
and all of this kind of stuff. But if you look at the Billboard chart today, the number one is Kendrick Lamar with Mustard. The number three is Kendrick Lamar. And the number six is Kendrick Lamar. Drake debuted at like number 4 or 5. He's got one out of, six, and Kendrick's got 3 or 4. So I think, I kind of agree that Drake wrote a better song, had a better diss record, but I think he was just outsmarted. Just the way that strategically that Kendrick did it. I mean, I now listening to it out for the, 300th time, I'm like, damn, that Drake record is actually kind of good. You know what I mean? Like as a record, as a song, not, you
Mm.
know, it's not hit them up, and I'm really no or no Vaseline, and I'm really, and I want to stress this, I'm so happy that it spilled over into social media and not the streets.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
that's true.
literally Biggie was sitting in my office the morning that he died. You know what I'm saying? Like I was talking to him about life, about his wife, about his kids, about how happy he was that his music was going. We just played world premiered Hypnotize and Notorious Thugs, and he was up there at Power working radio, and he was sitting. He was on crutches, so he said, "Hey, can I sit down and hang out with you?" And another thing that's crazy is I ran into one of his bodyguards, a couple years later, and the bodyguard said, "You were the last person to record Biggie." And I said, "What?" And he goes, "Well, that drop that he did for the Baker Boys, the freestyle, he did the verse from Victory over some other beat, and I recorded him. I produced the vocal, I was the last person to record and produce Biggie before he passed, according to this bodyguard." He said afterwards
Wow.
they went straight to the hotel, and from the hotel they went to the Peterson Museum, and later that night Biggie was gone. So I, you know, it it's sad, man, and I'm just glad that that this didn't turn into a couple of young men ending up dead in the street over some bullshit. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, this spilled into internet stuff, and I got to give it to Top Dog and TDE, who said yesterday this beef is now over, and it's a win for hip hop because these two guys could be gladiators, go out there and compete at their art form that they love, and no one was hurt in either camp from the beef. There's some stuff going on in Toronto, or there's some stuff that has happened, with the weekend, a couple weeks ago, and then there's the Drake thing with the security guard and all of this kind of stuff. But it seems to be unrelated to what's going on, with Ozempic. I mean, with the beef.
Mm. 100%. Hey, brother, before I let you go, because I know you're a busy man, brother, I got a couple of quick questions, if that's
Yes,
okay.
sir.
All right. If you're going to only eat one meal for the rest of your life, which meal do you choose?
Rusty's Pizza in Santa Barbara.
What flavor?
Uh, Double pepperoni, half sausage.
Oh, okay. Is this There we go, guys. Santa Barbara taking a bit. Are you there now, or are you in Santa
And I
Barbara?
actually have a funny story about
Let's
Giant.
go, brother. Yep.
Giant. I mean,
Those are.
my Samoan counterpart is very large, and he was coming back from San Francisco one time, and I said I wanted to take him to Rusty's Pizza. It was the best pizza on the planet, and he got pulled over. And the cop said, where are you guys going? And he goes, he was coming from San Francisco, and he goes, we're just a couple of hungry Samoans heading to Rusty's Pizza. And the officer said, Rusty's Pizza? How do you know about Rusty's Pizza? And just because it's such a classic in Santa Barbara, he let him out of the ticket. But I mean but that's how good Rusty's Pizza is. And
Yeah.
when Giant came to stay in Santa Barbara, the first time that he was there for Granny's funeral, the first thing he said to me was, let's go to Rusty's. Like as soon as we were done, he's like, let's go to Rusty's. So
Yeah. Shout out to Uso,
Rusty's
man.
Pizza is big.
Yeah. Rusty's Pizza, Santa Barbara. And what's the pizza one more time for the people?
Rusty's Pizza in Santa Barbara, double pepperoni, half sausage.
There we go, fam. There we go. If you could have one superpower, which one do you choose and why? Maybe you could even make one up if you feel like it, or you have one on your mind that you could create.
Wow. The power to fix mental health.
Oh,
I would have the power to fix mental health because it's so important. Depression and I've had friends that have passed from suicide, and I've had friends that get in depressive ruts. I've had ADHD, bipolar, and depression. So it's you never know what your friends are going through. You never know what the next man's mental is going through, and it can be a prison, man. It can be you never know the struggle that someone's going through in their head, because it's something that's only to them. And I've had some really serious friends and family and myself that have gone through depression. My grandma went through depression. And it's the one thing that I'd fix, man. I would make everybody at least have peace of mind, man.
I like that, brother, because I've heard people say, "Oh, it's a power to heal, take pain away." I think pain is necessary in life. Like
Yes.
sometimes just to, but to take that kind of stuff, to take mental
Yeah.
illness away, that's a beautiful one, bro. That's a. I
I'd
like
fix
that,
the
brother.
brain. I would make sure that the brain works right. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm,
yes, struggle, pain, it all
mm.
has to be there. You know what I mean? I mean, this universe, when they say there's no God or there's this or that, I just laugh. And there's got to be a higher power. There's got
It
to
has to
be
be something.
something, because this world is just too perfect. This biomechanical suit we're in that runs this electric computer in our head, that interfaces with other humans and has communication that is perfectly balanced to this air. If you were to send someone to space in a space, you'd have to put them in a space suit and acclimate them to that environment. We're so perfectly acclimated to this environment, our digestive tracts, all of that, how we feel, the reproductive situation. I mean, just all of that, it's such a balance. And the one thing that I think is messed up the most is sometimes our mental. Why can't we get along with other people? Why, racism is so funny to me, because it's like, yo, bro, you cut me. We're going to bleed the same. Our shit operates the same. There's no such thing as ego. Nobody is better than anyone else. There's
Mm,
no way. How can you even think that? You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. And those kind of things, with the mental, make our brain work right. Is ego is part of that. I mean, it's
yeah,
it's it's the
that's
one
right.
thing I'd fix.
Yeah, nah, I love that, brother. And yeah, you're right. Ego is part of that. But just like I think ego, I think not having an ego too can also mean you get walked all over. I think controlling your ego and using it,
Yeah,
just like fire, can you can use it to keep you warm, to fuel you, or cook your food, or you could burn your house down with it. So
that is a
yeah,
great way to put it, my brother. That is a great way to put it.
yeah, for sure. I got one more question, brother. To anybody that wants to get into the industry today, whether it's in your position or in any position, do you have a piece of advice for them?
Believe in yourself. Consistency and repetition breeds familiarity. Familiarity breeds a relationship. A relationship breeds teamwork or synergy, and teamwork and synergy wins games. There's nothing special about me. I'm a kid from Santa Barbara, small town, white kid that wanted to get in hip hop. There was a roadblock every step of the way, but I did not listen to any of it. I just chased my dreams. My grandma believed in me. She said I could do anything I wanted to do, and I believed it. And I just did it. I just follow the music. That's it. I don't care what anyone else says. I don't put any weight in any negativity that anyone has, and I just do the job. I am a humble servant to the music, and that's all I care about. And that's it. Just believe in yourself and believe you can do it and just manifest the greatness. The more time, the reason why I said the thing about fix the brain is we spend so much time looking at the negative and manifesting the negative to tell our ego, see, I told you so. See, I told you I wasn't going to make it, which is a reverse ego thing. It's the lack of ego or the ego. There's a balance in the force. To
Mm,
be a true Jedi, you have to know the balance. You know what I mean? And
100%.
that's just what it is. Believe in yourself. Go watch the Star Wars movies and learn about Luke Skywalker and stuff like that, because that is the perfect example of spirituality and understanding the difference between good and evil and where you have to sit. You have to believe in yourself. The Last Dragon, the movie with the Karate Kid, all of those movies that inspire, they say the same thing. Believe in what's you. You are put on this earth for a reason. We make the construct as we go. We decide our surroundings. And that's true. We need to manifest what we believe in and make it reality.
Yeah. Hey, brother, I just want to say from me personally, what you just said resonates both points, the fixing the mental health and also this last point on believing in yourself.
Thank you.
A year ago this week, I I had a vision to get number one on TikTok live streaming rankings, which I did a year ago this week. But what
What?
happened in but which like yeah, this was a year ago. But what happened in that time, I had pushed a lot of things to the side and not dealt with, right? And as you do, pushing things to the side, they end up piling on top of you. So I got to the point where I was about to hang myself, and
Oh,
this is a year
man.
ago this week, and my baby woke up crying, and he woke up. So I was like, oh, I can't do it right now. I'll go fix him, and then so I went to go sort him out. And when I grabbed him and consoled him, as he was crying from his teeth, I
You
said
felt
I
that
just started,
electricity.
brother. I started pouring down with tears, brother. I just started pouring down with tears, and I said to myself, where do I want to be? Like what I'm doing now, like yeah, I achieved that. That's cool. We got to do that as a fam, as a squad. But now, like what do I really want to do? I always wanted to do what I'm doing right now, brother. So I said to myself, every day from this was May last year till January 2024, I'm gonna learn and study the game of podcasting and create the biggest podcast in the world. I'm going to start to create it anyway. So I launched in January. I daily deposited every day just to learn different things and look at different angles of how I could take it. January was the first week of January. I launched as I promised myself, and since then, this by the time it comes out will be like episode 180, and each episode's like an hour long, brother. And I just want to say I am an example of that, of just wanting to believe it and just go for it. I'm just a small time podcast right now, but I have visions of being up there with Joe Rogan and that's not to be competition. That's just because I believe in myself. I believe that's why when I
Nice.
reached out to you, brother, and you said yes, and then I just kept listening to your content and even though time
Yeah.
differences and that. I just believe like, hey, I'll just, hey, brother, any good? Not yet. Okay, no worries, no problem, and keep trying, brother. Just keep trying because yeah, like most people probably would have gave up even just having you on, for example, right? But like, oh well, he doesn't want to think. But I just kept trying. And then I had a free spot because someone booked them, but then they couldn't tonight. So I was like, you know what? I finished my podcast just before, and I said, Mizza, I'm free for the next 3 hours. Can I have some time, brother? And you're like, yeah, dude, I just woke up. Let me have a shower, and I'll be there, brother. And that means the world, man. And even what
Yeah.
you said, power to
Yo,
you,
I'm
brother.
sorry for the misconnect a couple of times. I just
No,
couldn't
no,
figure out the time difference. So
nah,
every
nah.
time I tried to like figure
Yeah,
out what I was doing, my ADHD kicks in. I'll just be honest
brother,
with you.
it's
My
crazy. It's 16
ADHD kicks
hours.
in when I'm trying to do the math of it. I can't do math like that. I
Brother, that's
just
16
can't.
hours. It's 16 hours time difference. I don't expect you to do that. That's why I thought, you know what? I'm just gonna shoot my
No,
shot,
but I,
and just
I
and
I
boom.
applaud it. And congratulations. And let me be absolutely clear, bro. That is an absolutely astonishing and inspiring story, bro. And God bless you. And congratulations. And you are an example of everything that I believe in to my core. You know, you had that thought, you beat the thought, you made something of yourself, and here we are, bro. So God bless you. Congratulations, and just keep doing it. You know, DJ
Oh,
Quick said
100%, brother.
something to me one time when I
Yeah.
produced my first record of Ice Cube, and it was Lights Out, and I was like, "Quick, I finally made it. I did this," and it blew me away. It was so simple. He just said, "Now do it again."
Mm.
That's it. Now just do it again. And
Brother,
brother, just do it again and
can I
keep
read
doing it.
can I read something to you quickly? Just a quick quote that I like.
Please, please
I've saved it on my phone because it really resonates with me, brother. And I'll probably save it until the
share
day
it.
comes that I sit at the top with the whole squad that I take with me. Discipline means telling yourself every day that you have to give up instant gratification in order to achieve bigger rewards later on. So it's for me, it's just that exactly. Do it again. Daily deposit. Get up tomorrow, go again. Get up tomorrow, go again. Get up tomorrow. And you know what, brother? It doesn't even feel like work. It doesn't even feel like
No,
work to me, brother. It's just like,
no.
yeah, I'll be talking all day, but I'm, that's fine. And like, I got a squad of awesome people that that are rolling with me, brother. And if everything comes to fruition that I hope to achieve, they'll all be looked after too, brother. You know what I mean?
And
So that's
you just gave someone around a halfway around the world the coolest gift on the planet. You know what I'm saying? That story I'll keep with me for the rest of my life and be inspired by it. Because no matter how bad my life will ever get, I will remember this moment. And I will know that at that time, when you were at that stage, you just kept going. And look at where we are today, bro. Congratulations. I'm so proud of you, bro. This is what I fucking live for, is hearing stories like this, brother. You fucking did it. Congratulations.
hey, appreciate it, my brother. I just want to say, time is the most valuable
Excuse me for
commodity.
cussing, but this is what I
Don't
fucking live
excuse me.
for, is hearing
I
stories like that. That shit is fucking inspiring. And God bless you, bro.
Nah, I appreciate that, my brother. But I just want to say too, man, appreciate all the love, all the support, and all of the game you gave us, brother. I also want to just add that time is the most valuable commodity we have as human beings. The one thing
Yes,
we can
sir.
never get back. Time spent is time lost. We can always get back time. I mean, money. We can always get back things, but we can never get back time. So
And
thank
we
you
didn't
for
lose
sharing
shit here,
an
brother. We didn't
hour.
lose shit
Hell
here.
no, my brother. We gained so much in this time, brother. So
We
thank you so
gained
much, my
friendship,
man.
my brother.
Yeah,
Friendship and inspiration.
and you know what? Whenever I get back to LA or Santa Barbara, wherever, we're gonna go try some of that pizza, brother, for
Yeah, I'm
sure.
gonna
I'm gonna
take
hit
you
you up.
straight to Rusty's fucking pizza, brother.
We on, my brother. We're on. Big love. Thank you so much for watching this full episode of Mind the Mic. It takes a lot of time, energy, and effort to create these episodes. So to know that you've watched and listened to the entire thing means the world to myself and all our hosts. If you could, before you leave, please hit the subscribe button and share this episode out to as many people as possible. It would help us so much. Thank you again to everybody that's still here, still watching. Thank you for all your comments, all your shares, all the DMs. Appreciate you all. Make sure you follow us on every platform. Have an awesome morning. Have an awesome night, depending on where you are in the world. Mind the mic out.
Oi, have you hit the link in bio yet?
Watch full episodes on YouTube or listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all streaming platforms.